Corey, if you can hear this, text Sal. Morning. How are you? Yeah, you guys, I was waiting to see if they were ready back there. Didn't want, everybody good? Okay. Yep.
The decision with Trey to go on off the year, what all went into that?
Yeah, I mean, a guy as talented as Trey, as I said, I think the last time when I was here, was just trying to run the clock out and make sure that, there was, not really a great chance to get him out there any in the first 4 weeks with the rules. So not easy, but Trey's in a good spot. He's really working hard. It's still going to be a long season, I think. I think he'll have I think he'll play a considerable number of games. I don't want to say oh, he's 100% playing week 5, which is the first time he could be out there. But we'll put a good plan in place. I know he's got another doctor visit scheduled here upcoming, and I think that'll give us a good idea. I think we're closing in on a timeline for him internally. Not that we're going to, from a competitive reasons, announce that, and I don't have it yet, but he does have an upcoming appointment, and I think that'll give us, it's going to be at that point, it'll give us some really good direction, and we'll start trying to get him ready as soon as he's able, but obviously won't be able to play the first 4.
He was working to the side when we first got to camp.
Mm-hmm.
And then was there some sort of setback?
No setback. I think just we realized, training camp's a little different with the fans out there and everything. It's just the pressure. Trey puts enough pressure on himself just trying to, we didn't have a timeline, and I think as you saw, he's doing really well, but no setbacks. Some of this is just making sure he's as strong as can be, not just there, but his whole body ready to take on a football season.
Has he been doing workouts throughout the past month?
Yeah, he's still doing all those things that you saw. I know there were some videos, I think, that were put out there early in camp. He's still doing all those things and then some. So no setbacks. Yeah.
How challenging will it be that he can't practice even? And so that being a part of your decision and how you had to wait this year.
Yeah, it is, Sal. You want to, as I said, once he gets full clearance to go play, that the ACL and the knee is ready to roll, you're still susceptible as a football player to other things and not playing and whether it's pulls, strains. So there is a callousing up and then a mental component too. Like, when you come back from injuries that have been this long, the last thing you want to do is do it again. We saw it in Carolina with Thomas Davis. He tore his, a few times, and so just trying to, there's a mental component to guys coming back as well from, you tore your shoulder, it's 6 months, like going out there and punching it and using it the way you did, a foot injury, anything like that. Obviously his is a knee. So just making sure he's physically, mentally ready to go play, because there'll be no ramp up preseason scrimmage against anybody. When he gets out there, it's gonna be for real.
You mentioned last week you went outside of the team to get the surgery. How common is that? And you mentioned a little bit the challenge of sometimes now having an extra group that you have to consult with.
Yeah, I think it happens a lot. I would say, I don't know the numbers. It's probably half and half, depending on the injury. A lot of times out there you see, hey, it's a sports hernia, they go to this doctor. It's a foot, they go to I'm not gonna mention all the doctors' names. It's a back or a neck, you go to this doctor. There's a lot of specialists out there, and so like anything, you want to make, if you're the player or the player's representative, they're always trying to make sure, am I sending them to the best guy, just like you would if it was your child. Hey, who can take care of my child the best that I know how? And so no one's right or wrong. There's a lot of really good doctors. We think our doctors are very good too, but we want whatever player it is to be comfortable with the whole process. And sometimes I've seen it where players will consult with 3 doctors and see how they do the surgery, what their process is, what's their timeline, who have they done, and that happens too, to where I'm going to go see these 3. I'm going to choose this doctor after I kind of interviewed them all.
Brandon, as we were getting up to the cutdown day, the narrative out there was O.J. Howard not going to be cut because of the dead money.
Mm-hmm.
How much did that play into it, and then what kind of went wrong with O.J.'s season?
Yeah, Matt, I think you got to do your best in this seat to pick the best 53, and that's not always easy. No matter where you're drafted or where you're paid, like, unless you just can't cut a player because it would put you over the cap or something like that, which this didn't do that. That was a nip and tuck competition between all those guys, after Dawson. And again, you're trying to put them all in as many different scenarios. That was definitely a decision that came down to the end. It wasn't abundantly clear a week into training camp or 2 weeks into camp. I think OJ, in fairness to him, an Achilles can sometimes take 2 years to come fully back. And OJ did everything. He is a pro. He's a great guy. I would not hesitate to bring OJ back here, if the opportunity, opened itself up.
With respect to Sam Martin, Brandon, it's not often that a guy who's statistically top 5 across the board is sitting out there. Was this a relatively easy decision, knowing his track record?
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of vets. You guys know the other names, but a couple of vets. We kind of just, there were some young guys too that had some strong legs, but where we were, this is not 2018. You know what I mean? Where we're trying to just say, hey, we'll take some young guys and mold them, and we got time. We wanted a vet, not only as a punter, but a guy who we've seen hold plenty of games. You know what I said last year, even with Matt's Hawk struggles, I did not want to interrupt the flow that T-Bass was in. And so the first thing when finding a punter right now was the timing was pretty good, that it was the end of camp and there were going to be, we were looking at 3 or 4 battles and a couple of them came loose. And Sam's a guy that, we actually looked at in, I think it was 2019, no home of the year, but was one of the years we played them in the preseason, and he had a higher cap number, and we had heard that, there was a young guy that maybe Detroit wants to save money, so he was one we targeted when, we were still kind of bringing Bojo up. Is this vet a better option? So we kind of were really aware of him before, and then, we heard Denver had a young guy that was competing with him, and really good things about him. Vaughn, spoke very highly of him. Some of the other guys that know him, Chad Hall, our receiver coach, knows him through Matt Stafford, and so a lot of good reviews on who Sam is. And
With respect to the whole operation, you got short week, as you know. What is realistic in terms of getting that right? Is there I guess you don't really have a choice. It's got to be ready by Thursday.
yeah, I think these are pros. I mean, T-Bass is now in year 3. Sam's done it a lot, done it for different people. You can't make up for lost reps, but this is not anything new. I know he'll get with T-Bass as soon as they're allowed. It's mandatory off right now, so we can't bring him in per the NFL and NFLPA. But Saturday they'll get started, and I'm sure him and T-Bass and Reed will spend a lot of times, on where the ball is, how he wants it, where he wants it, the operation. And I have full faith in Matt Smiley and that full group that they'll be ready to roll, next Thursday.
What did your scouting report or your NFL scouts tell you about him, or just his strengths? His plus territory kicking, hang time, kind of what can you say about what his best strengths are?
Yeah, I think he's a guy that really good directional, placing the ball, especially if you're getting at from the, minus 40, minus 45 over to the plus side, those areas where you're trying to get them not only inside the 20, but, down closer to the 10. You didn't see him missing and booting those balls in the end zone a lot. It's that sand wedge shot, getting it to stick. But I think that's the best thing. Sam's not, the guy that has the hugest leg. That's not his strength necessarily to back. He's got a fine leg. I'm not diminishing it, but that's not. I would say accuracy, ball placement is probably his best. I was looking up. I think he's been in the league 9 years. He's had 1 career kick. So his get off time, 1 blocked. Really liked his get off time. touch to toe, all that good stuff. So he's a pro. I think he'll slide right in. He came in yesterday, and we wanted to visit before, make sure he felt good with us and we felt good. And I thought it was pretty seamless and look forward to having him here.
Hey, Brandon, with OJ, all we really get to see is the little snapshot of your document when you see the base is fully guaranteed. Is there any way to remove any of that towards your salary cap, or is that just his full base?
Yeah, I mean, if he were to sign on a 53 for the season, in the reconciliation at the end of the year, you get some credit back on what he was compensated, out of what our guarantee was. So what happens sometimes is, we have non-likely incentives that don't count. Well, when those start hitting, that will kind of offset that a little bit. So you like to have something that's going to bring it back anyway, some reconciliation. So all those incentives, what's not counting on the cap now, all those are kind of reconciled with guarantees that weren't, being offset with somewhere else. So it's, yes, if he was on a roster for the whole season, another one, we don't get anything now, but at the end of the season we would.
One more on Trey. How much was he involved in this decision to start him there? And then just what was his reaction? You talked about the mental side of now knowing definitively there's at least 4 more weeks here that he's not going to be able to return.
Yeah, I mean, Trey's been, very forthright, very honest throughout, and I don't want to get into the exact nature of the conversation, but we've communicated with him where we see him, and he's communicated back where he sees himself, and of course there's a third party, where the doc's really a fourth party. Our guys seeing him every day versus his doctor when there's different timelines that he's checking in on him as well. So no, I think we're all working together and on the same page of it. Ultimately wasn't right to start him up now, and just let's give it a little bit more time.
For the second year in a row, you lose Nick McCloud. That's got to be tough for you. I know what you like.
Yeah, Nick's a Rock Hill guy, and I lived down there for a while. I went to see Rock Hill football, so he's Rock Hill through and through, and a lot of respect for him. When we hated to lose him last year, and he played. I think this year he showed his versatility more, and very hard decision. We had, I told you the last time I was here, we were in the 50s trying to get down, and some of the guys you saw claimed were tough conversations, and Nick being one of them. It's one of those things you had a feeling, okay, you save this guy, you're going to lose this guy. You save this guy, you're going to, it just very tough. You wish there was a way to keep them all, but as I told Nick, I'll help him out any way I can in life and football, and I got him back once. It doesn't mean it won't happen again.
Was that one of the ones that came right down to the final day there? Because he practiced with you guys on that final day.
Yeah.
It seemed like he might have thought he was making the team, and then it might have just gone a different way.
Yeah, we're looking at all options. You're trying to look at your medical report, make sure guys are going to make the game. No one's dealing with anything. Do you need to put a guy on IR? We were just taking some decisions, to the very end, and we were looking at various options, and at that point a decision had not been made at practice. We knew when we practiced that we still had, a couple decisions. Matt practiced, Barkley did as well. We were still trying to hammer out a couple things, and I was trying to every which way I could to figure out how to keep about 56, but the rules are the rules.
Brandon, how much of a consideration was it, because this isn't a normal year, because your assistant GM and your former offensive coordinator is with the Giants, how much of a consideration did they go into some of the decisions we made this year?
Yeah, I told them I'd get them back, anybody that they took away from us. But no, it's been really good with those guys. We knew, listen, they know our roster, and could have been even more guys. Luckily they saw some other guys in the league that they wanted to take a shot on too. But no, you definitely know that when you lose someone, I know when Sean and I got here, people were saying Carolina North and all that stuff. You do want people in your building that don't make their club, or you go trade for them, that understand what you're looking for and can kind of set the tone in the locker room. This is, this is what Sean McDermott, this is what Brandon Beane want. In that case, this is what Joe Shane and Brian Dable. So definitely knew that they would be looking closely at our roster.
I think you have 13 officially in your practice squad, and one was reported yesterday, not official. Will you guys, those last couple of spots, will you play that out, or do you have something coming up?
We should have some clarity by the end of the day. We got some guys that traveled in, and one that's traveling in right now that we got to put them through the process, physical, talk to them, all that stuff. But yeah, if all goes well with physicals and things like that, I would think by the end of the day we'll have those 3 spots remaining filled.
Do you pay attention to Vaughn kind of openly recruiting Odell Beckham Jr. on social media? Do you pay attention to that, and what do you think?
I mean, I'm not on social media, but I'm aware. My kids are, my wife is, and plenty of people in the building. So anything Von Miller says, I'm going to respect. Von wants to win. I think if you guys have had enough conversations with him, and listen, I'm the guys that have been around, know what it takes, knows what it looks like. If they're going to offer up what they think, I'm going to give him the time of the day. Why wouldn't I respect what he thinks? And he's been great. We've talked about players that he's not putting on social media before. So Vaughn sent me a text on Sam Martin. Like, he's not just looking at the guys out there that you see. So Vaughn wants to win, and I want to surround myself with as many people like that as I can.
Is that to a higher level that you're used to with players of having these conversations or them openly recruiting?
Openly recruiting, you probably don't have that often, but it happens. I think you see here and there, especially in this social media age, guys are DMing and reaching out. I can't sit here and have one-on-ones with 50-some guys on who they think we need out on the roster, but someone who's been with other players, it is nice. Hey, I know this guy. He fits what we're doing here. He's this and this that I haven't been around, and you have to. A guy with Vaughn's credentials, you have to kind of listen to that. He's, I think I'd be ignorant not to.
He said a couple weeks ago that he's eyeing maybe becoming a GM someday. Have you had a conversation with that? What kind of GM do you think you make?
Yeah, I mean, Vaughn and I talked about it. He was getting a smoothie the other day, and I was waiting in line, and we had probably a 4 or 5 minute conversation about it. Vaughn's really smart. Vaughn knows the game beyond just playing defensive end. He knows how the parts go together. But we talked about the time commitments, the things beyond just scouting. That's probably the first natural thing. I want to go pick players. We talked about a lot of the other things and building an organization and all that. And I think we're going to get into a lot of those. But, yeah, who knows? I want him to keep playing for a while before we get to the GM thing, though. I think he can help us more there.
In terms of OBJ, is that something you would explore or be potentially interested in at some point?
Yeah, I mean, John, I know he's recovering like Trey from an ACL. His timeline was, that was the Super Bowl. So, listen, he's a talented player. Show me a talented player that I'm not checking into. Like, I'm always going to do that. And whether that's trade for someone, let a guy get healthy. Again, this cap factors into it too. I don't know exactly where we're at, but we're with all this stuff next week. You have to be, right now it's still going under the top 51. So these sites out there that you guys check, they're still not showing what our final 53 plus, IR plus practice squad, all that counts on the cap. So, by checking it yesterday as we were still working through some of these things, including adding Sam, I think we're 2.4 to 2.8, somewhere in there, cap space. I don't have the final numbers, but somewhere in that range. That's what we're going to be looking at when the league converts it to your 53 plus practice squad plus guys on IR. Ike and Trey, you have your 53, but those guys are on PUP, so that's 55. 16 practice squad, Marquez Stevenson, all those guys now count. That's what brings your cap instead of that top 51 like we talked about back at camp, why I was going to need to restructure.
Brandon, where do things stand currently with George Boyer?
I mean, no update really. Yeah, that's probably the best I could say, yeah.
Brandon, update on when you think Stevenson could be available? Mark, do you think is there an expected timeline on that?
I don't know, Elena. He's not close by any means. So, and obviously on IR now, it wouldn't be the first four like the other guys, but I don't have an update on him. I think he's supposed to be back in town here at some point. He had his surgery somewhere else as well. So we'll get some updates on him. That's probably one when you're getting closer to the 4 weeks where, there's no reason right now. Where's he at, and when would he be available should we want to try and get him on the 53? Yeah.
Brandon, I know you're always trying to get the roster in a place where it's going to help you win as many games as possible, so it's not always final and set. But with what you have right now and how it's all shaken out, why are you confident in this team and the ability they have to go up against the Ravens here on Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, I love our guys. I love our coaches. I think we got guys that have gone through some battles. The last 2 seasons, they've played some really good football. They've played in some big games. Obviously, this will be another game on a national stage. It won't be new from that standpoint. And this is a really good team that we'll have to play our very best. And they're well coached. I think it's 2 well coached teams. It'll be a slugfest to go win on the road. We know that. Hopefully, Bill's Mafia is got their bags packed. We need to make some noise over there and not get drowned out by the Rams fans. But no, I mean, this is going to be a journey. It's one game, so we'll focus on it's the most important game. But we'll focus on that. But yeah, our guys are. I know this. They're excited about it. They're getting ready. They're getting these few days off to kind of recharge. And I know when they get back in here Saturday, it'll be all eyes, on the Rams in L.A.
How much pressure has Christian Benford, really good pressure, put on Kyrie?
Yeah, I think those guys have battled all along, and we were talking about it with OJ earlier. Just because Christian was drafted in the 6th and Kyrie was in the 1st, doesn't mean that Christian doesn't get to play as much than Kyrie. Best man plays, and I know those guys have been battling. And I think if it was the way that it can be, you would just say, "Hey, I'm gonna make Kyrie fail multiple times before I turn it over to a 6th-rounder." But no, once they're here, even playing field. Doesn't matter how you got here, whether you played at Florida or Villanova or wherever. So that's been a good battle, those guys, and I know that will continue. They're both great. They work well together. It's not like they're rooting against each other. They both want to win. They're both competitors, and I think both of them are going to help us this year. They're going to have some bumps in the road. They're rookies playing a very difficult position. Quarterback's probably the most difficult to play, but you'd be hard-pressed to tell me something harder than corner in this league with the rules. The rules are very favored towards offense and points and things like that. So, but we feel like with the guys we have up front, the safeties we have in the back, that we can kind of support these guys. You're going to have to rely on young guys someplace, and right now it's at outside corner for us.
Is there any concern about the optics of 6th-round pick beating out or competing this closely with your 1st-round pick out?
No, I mean, guys are exposed to different things at different times. I think Christian was probably exposed to a little more variations of defense that we do than. Kyrie was playing a lot of press at Florida. I think we talked about when it came out, which is good. But so they came in with different strengths, and now you're fitting them into your defense, your scheme, with your talent. So it goes back to what we said earlier, like players know players, and everyone's paying attention to all competitions that happen. And so, no, I mean, if at some point this year, we felt that Christian gave us the best chance to win, we're here to win, and that's what we would do. And that's why those guys have rotated, and it hasn't just been handed to Kyer or anybody else for that matter.
Wait, one more on Porter, if I could. Are you at all optimistic that we can find some sort of solution here?
Joe, I mean, I don't really have anything. I mean, that's one of those things internally. I know, I respect the question. It's not gonna, there's nothing I can say that's gonna really answer what you're trying to get to. If there, like any deal, if there at any point there's a deal, we definitely would get that announced and let you guys know.
Brandon, you not played yourself, but your team was in the kickoff game the year before you got here, 2016, the rematch, right?
Oh yeah.
Carolina, just what do you remember about that? What was that like for you to be a part of that whole scene, especially going on the road too?
Yeah, that was a weird one because that was the last game, a rematch of the last game, Denver versus Carolina, except it wasn't at a neutral site. It was at their place. Yeah, it was very electric. It stunk because you had to sit there and watch John Elway and Peyton Manning come out there and get the crowd going, and you're basically reliving that game all over, whereas we weren't where the Bengals were last year. So, I'm sure they'll have a Super Bowl celebration that night that you got to kind of witness, but I don't think it'll feel – I felt like I was back at the Super Bowl all over again in the pregame lead up to that. But it's it's the first game that everyone's watching. Everybody's excited. It's a real game. We just completed the preseason. We're always excited for preseason, and then after a week, everybody's like, all right, let's go to the regular season. And we see it pretty similar. But, it'll be – I know the guys are excited for the opportunity to, show what kind of team we think we have.
When you mentioned that naming ceremony, reloading the Super Bowl, where did you watch this past Super Bowl and not knowing that Vaughn was going to be on the team now? Is there any play from that last game that really stood out to you at the time?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely saw him and Aaron Donald. Like, I was at home watching it, but definitely saw him and Aaron really causing a lot of havoc, for the Bengals O-line. And, I thought Burrow had a heck of a year last year, and had they not been able to do that, I think Cincy might have won that game. I think the Rams D-line, when they needed the plays, really stepped up and closed that game out for them. And that's what I'm hoping Vaughn can help our guys do this year.
Similar to Christian Wade a few years ago, Raheem last year, quite a viral reaction in the preseason. What did you think of that? And some fans were very disappointed that he wasn't on their initial team, but you got him back on the 53.
Yeah, I mean, you want to keep as many good players as you can, and Raheem, I thought, did a good job of answering the challenges that were handed to him. And he's a young player, like anything, still got work to do, and there's some good things. There's some things he's got to work on, but he's got a great attitude, and hopefully we can keep him here and mold him and see where he can kind of get to in his career.
Brandon, how do you approach expectations going into a year? Because some of the people in the building are like, yeah, we'll take it one day at a time. But you've also said, hey, it's not 2018 anymore. Thoughts here from a Super Bowl ring. There's obviously very clearly high expectations. So how do you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, you control what you control in the building, Matt. It's we can't worry about the narratives out there. Just like if we go on a 2-game losing skid and everybody says this is not a Super Bowl contender, this is like, you just control what you control here. You work every day. It's just about really putting the work in, and that's noise. That's part of why this league has become what it is, whether it's fantasy football and all that. I mean, there's people, this league gets high ratings, and a lot of people follow it. So naturally, there's a lot of prognosticators, and it's great that people consider us, a good team, a contender, whatever you want to call it. But ultimately, this is a new team that we have, and we haven't played a real game we haven't gone on any kind of skid, and how are they going to react? We talked about that last year. We kind of went on that up and down, and ultimately that team, when it was getting like this, decided, you know what, we're gonna lock this thing in and go. And so hopefully, I know that'll happen. I mean, it's 17 games, and things are going to happen. I know there's going to be a point where there's going to be doubters, there's going to be naysayers, but hopefully this team will gel and find its way through any of those rough patches that happen, in the next 17 weeks.
Brandon, real quick, the practice squad, Tavon and Duke, I mean, veterans that have been here, you get them on your practice squad. How important is it that guys like that can step in, that have been in this league, and you can now put them on the practice squad?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the 16-man practice squad and being able to have vets, because a lot of times when you had injuries before you could put vets on there, all of a sudden this vet that you're bringing up in late October hasn't been on a roster and he hasn't played football. These new rules allow for these guys to stay in shape. They're in your playbook. They know. And there's vets on other teams that we could come get. But getting guys back that have been in your system, understand your playbook, understand your culture, what's expected, it's just a quicker transition. And we wouldn't hesitate to go to Tavon or Duke, Greg Mance, any of these vets, Matt Barkley, any of these vets that we added. And then the other part of that is these young guys, getting them ready as fast as we can. I would say some are more ready than others, should injury strike, to go help us, this season.
You mentioned that it's a new team, whether it's new players or new coaches. Is there an aspect of this team that you're most excited to see what it actually looks like on the field come next Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited about everything. I'm excited, to see, how Coach Dorsey does things and how he and Josh work together. I mean, we got a short glimpse of that, but I'm excited for his opportunity to prove his worth as an offensive coordinator. And, our O-line, we've got a new coach in Coach Cromer, and I think that's been a good mix. So I'm excited to see those guys. And then, we tried to get stronger up front, getting Jordan Phillips back, bringing Vaughn in, bringing DeQuan and Tim Settle, all that group. So that's when you get the lines, sometimes it's how they gel and how they play off of each other, whether it's running stunts on defense or handling stunts and very, blitz packages from an offensive line standpoint. So it's not going to be perfect week one, but I'm excited to see both of those groups gel as the season goes along.
Brandon, what were the deciding factors between going with Jake Kumaro rather than Isaiah Hopkins?
Another tough one. Both guys made a really good play for it, and you just ultimately you have to make a decision. But both guys, glad to get Isaiah back here, and should we need Isaiah, I know he'll be ready to answer the bell. I think we brought him the New England game last year when we had some COVID, and he was ready to roll. So excited to have them both.
Understanding that we had talked about this on Saturday, I just wanted to clarify with you. You said about Matt Araiza, you knew the folding of the situation, and Sean had said some new information was learned when you talked to us Friday. I just wanted to clarify if you're all able to say what those folders were, what information you had originally.
Yeah, Elena, I'm respectfully, we're just going to put a bow on that. That's why we did that, Saturday, and just kind of moving forward. Hope you understand that. Yeah, I saw him yesterday. You can still hear him before you see him, but he's alive and well, and he's. I think it'd be hard to hold him out. You know what I mean? He's going to push and push. Now we got to make sure he can medically do it. So we'll see. It's still a wait and see. He's got to do that, but he was here for a while. Getting treatment since it's happened, and I saw him in here yesterday, and he's going to tell you he's going to play. We just got to make sure he's ready to roll.
Settle is someone who's been working to the side for a while. Settle has been working to the side for a while. Is there a timeline on him?
Yeah, we'll see. I know all these guys, Matt just mentioned Quentin Marsh, all these guys are here, they're rehabbing, they're going through it. I don't have a crystal ball as to their status of the game yet or anything.
Tim Settle and Isaiah McKenzie, who will you hear first?
Tim's pretty loud, so I think he wins that, but Isaiah can last longer. Thanks, guys.